We're looking at reaction to the EU referendum and the UK's decision to leave from around the world. Turkey's government has signalled it could soon hold a referendum of its own over whether to continue talks about joining the EU. And to get the perspective from here in Turkey, we're joined by Galip Dalay, a research director with the Sharq Forum. Great to see you again,
Thanks.
Mr. Dalay. On the front page of many Turkish newspapers today, it has Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan saying, OK, maybe we should have a referendum of our own to decide whether we want to pursue joining the EU. What do you make of this and how likely is that?
Well, let's say the British referendum inspiration came to the other part of the world. It is as an expression of exasperation with the EU, as an expression of anger at the EU. It is this expression, but how significant or how likely it is, I don't think that it's very likely. I don't think that even if there is a referendum today, Turks still, majority of them, remains in favor of the close relation with the EU. And also, given the fact that in the Middle East right now, another area that Turkey had a very close interest in is experiencing civil war, failed state, and chaos. I don't think that the answer will be, yes, let's do away with the EU and let's look for the other options, because the other options for Turkey does not look so great, because the Britain, let's say like Britain had English-speaking world or the special relationship with the US. Turkey doesn't have Turkey has neither of them. So Turkey has to work, its geography requires it, to work with the Europe and remain on track with the EU, because it's a member of the custom union, and 75% of the Turkish foreign direct investment comes from the European countries, and it's almost half of its trade goes to the Europe. So no, it's not that likely. It is just an expression of anger with the EU and its behaviors.
Which begs the question, if the majority of Turks would not be in favour of this, why did President Erdogan say such a thing?
Well, as I said, it is the anger and it is the annoyance that the President Erdogan and Turkey feels, particularly vis-a-vis these refugee deals and this side accusing each other that the other is not implementing its part. Turkey is accusing the EU that the EU did not its part because we implemented. The feeling is that we implemented our part. Now it's your part to work on the visa liberalization and also to adopt a much more clear roadmap for Turkey's accession negotiation, and that is not the case.
Yeah. As you say, Ankara is very much saying that it's now the EU's turn to
and the EU says the other way.
Of course. But the EU-Turkey deal, frankly, looks all but dead in the water at the moment, as it stands. Do you see today's vote as having any impact on that deal, good or bad?
Well, not on the deal itself, not on a refugee deal, because the refugee deal is very much detached from the EU process.
It's very much attached in terms of the fact that Turkey has agreed to take refugees in order to have visa privilege through the EU.
But today's referendum will have impact on the prospect of Turkey's EU membership. On the one hand, it has a negative impact, because as a result of this referendum, the EU must be quite inward-looking, or another option, as the history of the European integration process shows us, after each crisis, Europe seeks to have a deeper integration. Neither of these options are good for Turkey. If EU is an inward-looking, well, there will not be appetite for further enlargement. If EU goes for the deeper integration, that this time the question of identity will come to the fore, and that bodes ill for Turkey. But on the other hand, if the Britain can negotiate a special status with the EU, that's not full membership, but that also keeps Britain as part of the wider EU bloc, that can set an example for Turkey to follow down the road. And that was one of the things actually German Chancellor Angela Merkel proposed in 2007, when he says there's no prospect for the EU membership for Turkey, therefore it is time to talk about a special status and special partnership between the EU and Turkey. That might, become reality down the road.
Galip, the Leave campaign within the UK, who's proven victorious, did use Turkey's possible accession into the EU as an argument or a reason to leave the EU. Do you see this as a blight on Turkey now that that UK has voted in that way?
Not really, because we know that Turkish membership in EU is not very popular anyway with the European citizen. To be honest, the European enlargement process was not very popular by the European public. If there was a referendum on the European enlargement, would Europe be able to enlarge to the Eastern and Central European countries? I doubt it, because it wasn't a very popular topic. But Europe was an elite project in the end, and it is, I mean, down the road, it seems to be still the elite will be the primary decision maker as regards the EU's enlargement or not enlargement process. So in this regard, yes, Turkey was used as a pretext for the for the Brexit campaign, and there was many of the manufactured facts about the prospect of millions of Turks migrating to Europe, but I don't think that is a blight on Turkey's EU track.
Good to hear. Galip Dalay, thank you so much for joining us. Always great to see you.
Thank you for having me.